Hey everyone, to those just joining, to those watching things back on the pod, whether you're here on Twitch or on YouTube, depending on when you're watching this. Hello! Welcome to another stream, welcome to a break stream, and welcome to another game dev stream. I haven't done this for like a week, at least. I got quite a bit done the last time I did one of these, though it was more on the sort of like putting up like framework technical side for the UI and stuff, rather than actually working on tweaking any like gameplay things. But I'm hoping to do that a little bit today. As you can tell by the title of the stream, that is the main aim that I'm wanting to work on, and it may take me a bit because how I want this to work is a lot different from how I currently have it working at the moment. Yo has a hello. How have you been? Hope you've been doing okay. And I don't know if you joined for the King's Fall run at all. Because I took a rain check from the raid today because generally speaking I'd been feeling burnt out mentally. So God. But yeah, hope you're doing okay. But yeah, those at the very or that at the very least is my main aim. I'm going to probably walk through things like using Clip Studio as a guide for stuff like before I actually sort of do things, because I do want to illustrate what I'm going to mean when I start rambling on about the things sort of rattling about in my head. So, where is I mean I need music as well. It's right. Right, I'm gonna go for some Pokemon this time around. And that should be... No. There we go. That should be coming through now. Right. So, of course, I have Clip Studio all set up just to illustrate what ideas are rattling about in this brain cage of mine, because I've mentioned it in passing before. No, wait, no, actually, before I actually do, like, sketching out the diagrams and stuff, or, like trying to illustrate what the hell I'm talking about, I'll show you what happens with wall jumps at the moment, because this is my main focus, and I want to be able to sort of actually say, yeah, this is what's happening with this stuff right now. If you've been here before for game dev streams, you would probably already know how wall jumps work at the moment. Though, if not, and you've been checking into the game dev streams recently, it's taking a while to play the bloody in play mode, because it always takes a while for the first time sometimes. But at the moment, so running around. If I was to jump at this... So if I just run straight into the wall and do the wall jump, it will just do the wall jump. It will just bounce them away from the wall based on, like, where... based on where, you know, where the, like, normal from, like, the surface normal from the wall points outwards. So it will say, hey, this is pointing away from the wall, just away from the wall in a straight line. We're just going to move straight in this direction. If I was to jump at this wall at an angle, it would just do the same thing. It wouldn't, like, do a whole, we're going to, like, have the player jump at the same angle leaving the wall, like, where it would sort of, like, it wouldn't, like, go, like, the same angle they came in, but they would go at a... But at the moment, if they jump at the wall at the angle, it will just still do the whole, like, it will just jump away from the, like, straight line from a wall. Which, while it was okay at the time when I was first sorting this out, you know, getting this to work, making sure this was, you know, a feasible thing I could do for this project, now I want to do something completely different. So, if I'm going to illustrate this in Clip Studio, I'm going to make sure I actually switch over to it before anything else. So, I also need to keep track of, like, where my programs and stuff are, so I'm not, you know, clicking on the wrong thing all the time. I'll put Steam all the way at the end so I don't click on Steam at all. But, so, let's say that this is a wall from a top-down view. So at the moment, when the player sort of goes into a wall, like if they go into a wall in a straight line, they'll jump out at a straight line. If they jump to the wall at an angle, regardless of what angle they jump into the wall at, they'll jump out at a straight line. And this isn't necessarily, like... I may have been slightly influenced by my playthrough of Super Mario Sunshine lately, but what they do in that game, and basically, I believe, literally every single Mario game, like 3D Mario game for wall jumps, is that, if I were to jump in the wall, or at the wall, at this angle, then it would leave, it would leave in this direction at this angle. Basically, the same angle mirrored. If we were to sort of look at, like in terms of, like, angles and triangles and stuff, it would just jump away at that sort of same angle, but on the other side. And that's what I want to do. But at the moment, I don't know how to get that kind of direction unless I... Right. It's difficult. It's difficult what I'm trying to achieve. What I'm wanting to do is... Is that I want to just be able to take the direction that the player is going in when they hit the wall. That's a bent line. That's not illustrating my point very well. Hold on a moment, I just received the message. Give me a few moments. But yeah, basically, I want to take... Like, I don't know how. How would I... How would... Like... Like, what I would want to do, because at the moment it just... I would want it to be able to just do that, where it just sort of... Alright, I need to look this up, because if you know, like, reflections and stuff, like reflections of angles and stuff, then you would know that this is like a fairly sort of simple thing to grasp in terms of like talking about it, but in terms of actually applying it in like game dev, I am not sure. It's just a bit right. So as part of this, while I am going to be doing a little bit of guesswork on my front, I will probably also be looking things up. So let's see, reflect angle UE. What is a reflection vector? Hold on. Oh, right. Reflection vector. Right. Ah. And again, messages. Sorry. Sorry that this is taking a little bit of time. Right. Anywho, right. So, reflection vectors is what I'm talking about in Unreal's case. I'm having to go through a video in the background of this to actually... So if you start to find that there are like some noises merging with like the music that's currently playing, it's because I'm watching a video on how to understand how this works. Differing? Get reflection vector. Oh, okay. So, supposedly, so in blueprints, so if I was to go into the blueprint for an object, so this is stuff I'm finding out for the first time, where is, game, blueprints, player blueprint. There we go. But anyway, going into the event graph, if I say get reflection vector. So this is essentially what I was looking for, and it's handled in a function. So basically, it's doing what I was describing in the sketch earlier, where, like, given, like, the surface normal, which would be this thing pointing away from the wall, and given like a direction that's being pointed into it, it will essentially take these two things and it will return whatever direction is or vector is reflected along this normal point from, you know, this initial direction. It will basically give me the thing that's like bouncing off of the wall. It's also, from my understanding, very helpful if you wanted to make something with ricochet or something that bounces off of walls and whatnot. So that's very helpful. That's super helpful. That's so helpful. So, however, while this exists in blueprints, it's finding out the C++ equivalent because, as you may know, I am just doing this in C++. I am doing this all just raw coding in C++. So, in order for this to work, I would need to be able to just, like, do this in C++. So, we're going to be loading up Rider, and I'm going to be looking, so, C++, get reflection vector. Like, is there a way, like, is there a C++ equivalent for this? Because all I'm finding at the moment is mirror vector by normal. Nope, that's not it. Kismet Math Library. Ah, right. I might have found it, right. So we're gonna hop on over to Rider. It might, yep, there we go. It took a moment. And now, if we remember where wall jumping, yeah, check for wall jump. And so, yeah, now I'm looking back, now I'm remembering. So, we do, like, do if check wall jump, and of course we're throwing in the F hit result, whereas, right, so, player jump, and B has found wall. Yeah, B has found wall. Right. Okay, so it's gonna load up the Rider project, because I really should have had this done before stream. I did not have it done before stream, so I am now suffering because of this. So, you know what? We'll wait. We can be patient. But yes, it shouldn't take too long, though sometimes it may take a little while. So, gonna head on back over to Clip Studio. So, if this works, then we should be able to get that. And then, if I'm able to do this, like, on the fly, depending on the angle of a wall, then it would just feel a lot better to do this kind of stuff, like jumping off of walls. Like, it already feels okay, but I feel like this element of, oh, it's actually responding to how the player jump, like, how, the angle that the player will jump at a wall. Like, it will feel a whole lot more satisfying. Or, at the very least, that's my opinion. Now, we need to talk about something that I was going through during the last stream, in some of the setup stuff. This was one of the things that I was setting up for the model view controller architecture, which was, the whole, like, the model is, like, the data, so I'm going to re-explain this thing to people who may not remember, or people who don't know. So the model is, like, the data you're getting, the view is the, like, the UI, so, for example, like, health, lives, etc., etc., and the controller is the middleman between these 2 points. So the controller is an object that basically fetches data from the model, passes it to the view, and the view displays the data that is presented to it. And essentially reduces, like, unnecessary, like, dependencies and coupling between the view and the data that it's trying to get. It just separates them by one level and makes it easier to manage. Okay? Cool. Right. So, one of the things that I have been, or that I had set up for it, was the player state. And the player state is basically responsible for holding, like, player data. So the player state will hold player data such as attributes. So as I also sort of, like, went through, like, an attribute set is basically a set of attributes like health, and, like, for example, in other games like MP, stats, and so on. And these can be affected by other things that happen during gameplay. And as well as this, it could also hold, say, an ability system component as well, which, for the sake of, like, saving data, it's better to save, like, just the player state rather than, you know, saving the whole last player, because then you could just, like, if the player is destroyed, you just load in the player state, like, when you reload a scene, and that's about it. But that's besides the point. Oh yeah, no. Now I remember what I was thinking about. So, there was something I was deliberating a little while ago with the player state. So, at the moment, we're holding the stats. We're holding the ability system, which is responsible for, like, tracking the abilities and stuff, like, and what the player has, like, available to use. But, and here's the thing that I am not too certain on at the moment, because I realize that this could either be a player state thing, or it could be a player controller thing all the same, and I'm not too sure how to properly determine this. But yes, the thing that I'm deliberating on is to do with lives. Because of course, in the attribute set for, like, that, for the player, like, health is stored there, but of course I don't think lives would be stored on the attribute set, so I'm wondering if it's either a case of, are they stored one layer up within the player state, or are they stored, like, in an entirely separate layer, which is, like, the player controller? Because the player controller is responsible for handling input. No, wait, actually, that kind of answers my question. The player controller is responsible for handling tasks related to input. It's not, it shouldn't have to be responsible for handling lives and stuff. It should only be responsible for handling input. So, not the player controller. I think the player state is the one that's responsible for that, or is the one that should be responsible for recording how many lives the player has. And that's very important for a platformer game, because of course you need lives, unless you're making a platformer that doesn't have any. Looking at you, modern mode for Crash 4, where you turned Crash Bandicoot into a game that no longer really requires lives for the most part. Right. Anyway, that's all loaded now. So we're gonna hop back onto Ryder because I've done my explaining for that a little bit for now. So wait, am I? Yeah, just checking, because I can never tell sometimes if I'm actually like properly tabbed into Ryder or if I'm just kind of thinking that I am, and then I just go on a bit, and then it's like, oh, we can't see anything. So. Right, so one thing I want to test is Kismet math library get reflection vector. Does this this returns an F vector, I think. So I'm gonna say, so this is for the sake of testing at the moment. Because I don't know this, I don't have a complete certainty of this. So for now, this is just going to be a case of, so I'm going to make another vector or another like local F vector. Call this reflection reflection diff or reflection direction. We're going to say Kismet math library get reflection vector. And we're gonna say, if it will tell me, direction, surface normal, right. So, let's say get actor forward vector. And then the surface normal would be wall hit dot normal. Though I am trying to remember, where is... Draw... Oh yeah, no, it's... Alright, so line... Alright, draw debug line UE C++, because I'm trying to remember this. So draw debug line. So I need draw debug helpers for this, because this will be important. Because I'm not actually going... Oh wait, I already have it there. Good. I completely forgot whether or not I had draw debug helpers, like, already put there. So, draw debug line. And we're going to start it at... So we're going to get world... So get world, wall hit dot locate, oh, impact point. And we're going to say reflection times 300. No, wait, maybe 500 F. Just so we get a decent length from the reflection. So, color. F color red. False. Lifetime, I'll say keep it up for 5 seconds. Just so that it remains, like, kind of there for a little bit of time. So... But while we wait for this code to compile, may as well talk about some things. The weather's been absolutely fucking great the past 2 days. Loving it, except for the fact that I have to work through quite a bit of it, so I'm not getting to spend as much time in the sun as I'd like. But, if you didn't know, and I'm going to tell you now, I released a video the other day, and I'm pretty proud of it. I'm not sure when I'll get another video out. Like, I definitely want to do, like, a few this year, because, you know, having content on the channel would help, rather than it just be like, oh, I have the YouTube channel. But, yeah, but I'm pretty proud of it, and I do want to try and get, like, 1 or 2 more videos out again soon, because, you know, it would be pretty neat to have some more stuff on the channel. One thing I was thinking about was stuff to do with Kingdom Hearts, like the Kingdom Hearts 2 playthrough, and rather than just kind of waiting for, like, the whole last playthrough to, like, do this kind of stuff, maybe as I go along with each of the streams, I just do compilations of all the deaths I experience. And then as, like, parts keep coming out and parts sort of keep progressing with the playthrough, then I just kind of release them. So, yeah, those are ideas I have bouncing around in the brain cage at the moment, though. Oh yeah, and the music ended. Shit. I think I'm kind of sort of jumping around between different sort of, like, calming ambient pieces from Nintendo games and stuff. So I'm gonna go for a Fire Emblem one that I really like next. Oh. There we go. And I'll turn it up a little bit. It's a nice little peaceful one. I'll turn it up in OBS a bit more. But those are ideas I have, and in terms of art stuff, like, leveling with you, I was also deliberating an art stream originally when I was, when I said that I was, like, had an idea in mind for today, but I guess, I'm guessing it's just a really bad case of, like, art block. I just felt very creatively drained yeah, I felt very creatively drained and unable to even try and put any ideas into action for art. Um, so, of course, I didn't opt for the art stream, though I've been trying to kick my art block in the ass by trying to sort of draw, like, pose practice and stuff to try and get the creative juices flowing. If I go into Clip Studio, I've been doing some, like, pose practice stuff, like, here and here and here and here and here. And these are poses that I've already practiced, like, in the past, back in my old sketchbook. Though I'm trying to sort of draw them digitally, because, of course, I'm trying to get more used to drawing on the tablet. And I am getting used to it. I'm a lot more used to it now than I was a few years ago when I first got this... When I was first given this drawing tablet by my good friend Heater. He's not here at the moment, but he gave me this tablet. Or didn't exactly give, I did pay for it. I did pay for it fair and square, and I have gotten a lot of use out of it, and I've gotten a lot more use out of it lately than I have, or than I had when I started using it. Because, like, for a while I was using it, and then I decided to just go back to drawing, like, traditionally on pencil and paper, and I don't know why I stopped when both have their uses, especially if you're trying to do stuff like digitally, like emote stuff, or trying to illustrate a point in, like, Clip Studio for, like, another stream, or you're trying to draw stuff up for people so you can break down your thoughts and ideas and everything. So it's helpful to have. It's very helpful to have. And I don't know why I never really considered, like, doing so much of it up until, like, fairly recently. It's kind of sad, but at the very least, I'm a lot more used to it. I'm a lot more used to it now, and I'm pretty happy about that. So, um, right. Oh. The one thing I'm interested in seeing this weekend, and because it's that time of year again. It's like Evo 2024 has started, and I'm looking forward to seeing some of the news that comes out of the FGC, because it's always a treat seeing what stuff is announced for fighting games, especially the ones that I'm, like, very active with, like Guilty Gear Strive and to some extent Street Fighter, but also seeing news in relation to the Marvel vs. Capcom collection and some other bits here or there as well. And you never know. There could be, like, a big, like, fucking shattering announcement. That will just completely break the FGC in half, and I can't wait to sort of just wake up one morning and get, like, friends messaging me like, holy shit, wake up, fucking, did you see this? They announced this and this and this, and they're like, oh my god, what the fuck? So, yeah, this Evo weekend's always exciting for FGC news, and I can't wait to see what comes out of it. It is taking its time to come back. It's always the first one. It's always the first one. Like, I never run, like, a test compile beforehand, because... Right. Right. I'm not sure where to go with this next, because this is still taking its time. So, last time, I believe... Yeah, it was definitely last time. I broke down, like, what I already had in terms of, like, what the player can currently do. And this is kind of an extension from that, but I'm going to talk about how I currently have things set up with the player in terms of, like, controls and architecture. So, at the moment... So, in terms of input, because, you know, in-game's input is fucking vital, you know, literally allows you to play the game and do literally anything. So, at the moment, all input, so such as, like, the input mapping context, which is like, oh, these are the actions mapped to these keys and stuff, and input actions, so the actual, like, actions that are mapped within that mapping context that are then bound to a function, these are all currently handled by our good friend, the player. And, you know, the player's just here. He's just waving hello. I'll give him, like, a little goofy little... There we go. So, all of this is currently handled by our good friend, the player. However, if you remember what I said earlier about where lives would be handled in this project, you know, for the sake of something that makes sense, I said that it would not be on the player controller, because for the most part, the player controller handles input. Now, something that I had been learning through one of the online courses that I'd been... Oh, for God's sake. I swear to God. Okay, so... Oh my God. Ah, why? I'm just gonna do this. There we go. Because otherwise, if this keeps going, it will disconnect. And I hate when that happens. So, I'm trying to sort this... Oh my God! One stream without problems. One stream without problems. Now at the moment I can't tell... Oh my God. Is this okay now? Right. I think... Yeah, I think the connection on OBS has balanced itself out for now. Whew, right. So anyway, sorry about the interruption for literally everything, because I don't know why I haven't been able to go one stream without having literally any problem lately, but it happens, it happens. But as I was saying, as of now, at the moment, all input is handled by our good friend the player. Now, as I said before, when trying to say, yeah, how we're going to handle lives for the project, I said about handling that via the player state, because that made the most sense. And the player controller would not make any sense for handling lives because for the most part, the player controller should just be for used for controlling input. You can kind of see the problem here. The player character itself is handling input, whereas really the player controller should be the one responsible for handling this, because it would make a whole lot more sense. So what I'm wanting to do eventually, I'm probably not going to do this on this stream, because I feel like it would be taking a lot of time, and I may probably do this as a sort of, like, do it in my own spare time kind of thing. Because if we go into Rider, and we go into... where is the player controller? Yeah, at the moment, player controller doesn't do anything. It doesn't have anything assigned. It doesn't have, like, anything in relation to input at all. I'm also going to close some of these, because that was the other changes that I was making towards the end of last stream. It doesn't have any of the like input action values and action key mapping like header files in the thing. At the moment, it just basically... oh, God. It just doesn't have this. So, what I want to do, as I said eventually, is I want to move everything related to handling the player input, and I want to move it into the player controller. Now, the one of the issues this presents is if I have a method that I made specific to that player character, and I wanted to access it via that player controller, I would most likely need to have a... oh, sorry about that. Tired. But I would most likely need to have a reference to that player character in order to make it work properly. But... It requires a lot of thinking of where I should put things and what would work, and just... but yeah, we'll see what happens with that eventually. And it is still taking its time. I am sorry for how long this is taking. This is taking way longer than it normally does, I swear to God. And then I'm gonna say la-di-da-di-da, this is just going to never do anything, and then it will finally finish compiling, and then we'll be able to carry on. But like, but the thing that I find is kind of ridiculous, it's this long of a wait for a few lines of code that I've written. Unless, no, there wasn't anything else that I changed in the, like, in the background, like, outside of stream, unless there was. Actually, there might have been. There might have been changes that I made, like, additional things that I was writing into the code that I forgot to do, like, during that stream, that I decided, you know what, I'm gonna do this the next day because I have the time and I may as well, and then I did not compile. If that is the case, then that is probably the reason why this is taking forever. So... I guess it's my fault, but I'm sorry about that. The changes had to be made, but now, so as I said, what I want to do in terms of the input, I just want to move that. So instead of being it on the player character, I want to move it to the player controller, because that would make more sense. That would be more ideal. And just get a controller there. That's my very... ugh. Oh, sorry. That's my very professional drawing of a controller there. You know, I've been practicing art as a craft for many, many years, and it takes a lot to get to this level to draw a controller like that. So, but jokes aside, controllers do be like that. But that's what I want to do in terms of moving the stuff. And as well as this, I already talked about finding like last stream, I already talked about finding animations that I would probably need for, say, wall climbing, mantling, and stuff like that. And I don't know if that's, like, I would need to find, like, here's the animations that I would need to find. Because I am sure as hell not doing that myself, because I would need to learn, and that would take a long time to do that. So I'm not gonna, like, try and implement things as I would be learning that kind of try it myself. But for now, like, from the likes of, say, Mixamo, which is a website that gives, like, a lot of animations for free, even though there's a whole lot of, like, stuff with fixing, like, the root bones and stuff that you have to kind of do. Oh, it finally did it. It finally finished building the God. But animations, I would need, like, a stomp animation, like a sort of air dash, or sort of like a thrust kind of animation. I would need, like, a wall jump, like, specifically a wall jump animation. And then, like, here's the thing. This is dependent on another factor, and that is whether or not the whole, like, changing how wall jumps work in terms of, like, angle is the only thing that I change. Because hold on, let me go back. I'll make another one. I have opened multiple tabs just so I can, like, keep this thing here as a list. This thing, to be fair, I don't really need this. I don't need this. And I could just quickly get rid of that, because I've already done, like, finished explaining my point for that. So, like, in Mario Sunshine, and this is where I'm drawing some inspiration for this initial change that I'm attempting in the first place. So in Mario Sunshine, in Super Mario Sunshine, when Mario goes to jump, like, at a wall. So say we have a wall here. Like, one of two things can happen. If you were to sort of just press jump immediately, like, on hitting the wall, you just jump away from the wall. You know, just as a wall jump would normally work. And that's where the whole, like, oh, if they're jumping at an angle, then they can jump at the reflected angle away from the wall. That's where that comes from. However, the other thing that can happen, if you just don't press the jump button immediately and you just kind of, like, let Mario like, jump into the wall fully, is that Mario will start to... Right, so, I'm trying to think... I'm trying to envision, like... Yeah, so like this. Mario would begin to sort of slide down the wall. And this happens in, like, all 3D Mario games, but I'm using Super Mario Sunshine as the prime example for this at the moment, because that's the one that's most recent in my head. So, whether or not I want this to be a change that I also try and consider? Depends. But if I did... yeah, so if I want to make this full-on, like, it's a full-on change, it would probably take some time. Though, at the moment, we're trying to figure the first thing out, how to do the thing like jumping at a reflected angle. And now that the project has built itself, I'm going to switch back over to it. We can actually finally check and see if the debug line will be drawn at that, like, reflected angle in that direction for that length. Because I'm only sort of, like, having it extend that far just to actually see if this is working. So... hopefully, this goes well. So... I think I did this wrong. I might have done this wrong. It doesn't seem to be, like, if I was to... yeah, it's just doing... it doesn't seem to be doing it correctly. Hold on. Right. Back to the drawing board. Back into Rider we go. So if that's the case with... get reflection vector. The other one was... hold on, let me double check. The other one was Kismet Math Library, mirror, vector by normal. Yeah. It would be mirror vector by normal. So... right, so mirror vector by normal. It takes the same inputs as get reflection vector. So, hopefully, hopefully this shouldn't take too long to compile, though it probably may take a little bit because we're changing a function. And that's kind of... or we're swapping out one function for another one, and that's normally, like, a pretty big change. So... it's taking its time again. Right. So... back into Clip Studio. So... what happened was not what I was expecting. So what I was expecting on all fronts... so... if I get rid of this again... what I was expecting on all fronts was when the player goes, like, I've explained this before, but I'm going to explain it again just for the sake of making sure that we're all on the same page here. So I would say that this is the normal pointing away from the wall, okay? If the player goes in at this angle, they should be going out at that angle. And what I was trying to check with the line trace is... like, this should... be heading out at this angle. So there is the possibility that I may have misunderstood what it meant by reflection vector, though I didn't finish watching that video, so perhaps there's something I'm missing here.
go. So we'll multiply it by an array and plug in the detector here. Assimilate, turn this around, you can see now our red beam is reflecting. That goes off any surface.
So there might be... Actually, there might be something that I'm misunderstanding here. So, let's see. Right, we'll return it to get reflection vector. But there's something I know now from watching a little bit more of the video. So there's a right, get unit direction. So is this a ukismet math library function? Ukismet math library get unit. Get direction unit vector. So I'm guessing f vector trace direction equals get direction unit vector, and then we say so we'll hit trace start, we'll hit trace end. And I think I've got this right. So direction unit vector, yep, from to, yep. And then instead of get active forward vector, we replace this with trace direction. No, that's not what I meant! I swear to God, right. And now we compile again. Right. I realized that I also had Clip Studio open this entire time. Whoops! Right. Quickly. So, instead of having, like, the player's forward direction as, like, the direction it's facing, I'm getting the direction that the sphere trace or shape trace is fired in from the player. So, I'm getting where the trace started and where the trace ended from, like, the wall hit. Then, we're taking, like... We're taking the trace direction and we're putting it in as the direction for the get reflection normal. So
now you may want to do one step extra step here, 1000.
but there may also be something that I'm missing in terms of the calculation. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with that now. Also, I know this is, like, fairly abrupt. Whereas... That's... Whereas an extra long night in Xenoblade. Right. Okay, so... As usual, the tea. The tea has gone through quickly. So I'm going to go for a quick break, just to sort of get that out of my system, and also to wait for the code to compile just a little bit. So I'll be a few minutes. For now, hold on, listen to Xenoblade Chronicles music, and I'll be back soon. Hang tight. Hello, all back now. I think it's still compiling. Yeah, it is. Glad to see that it's still taking its time. Lovely. So God, I swear, sometimes this thing taking so long to compile is kind of painful. I really do need to get things more optimal in terms of, like, storage and, like, parts. Though that's a matter of money, and at the moment, I am not too liquid right now. So, or at the very least, I'm a little liquid, but not liquid enough to just start forking out money for new PC parts all willy-nilly. So, yeah, but for the time being, hmm. Yeah, like, going back to the whole video idea-esque stuff, or at the very least ideas for content in general, if you can remember, and I will be impressed if you do, but if not, then I will do my best to remind you. What I was hoping to do before the Elden Ring DLC came out was to do an entirely new base game playthrough of Elden Ring, like doing a funny build. And I didn't manage to do that. And for a while, I didn't have the Elden Ring DLC, because money. But I got it, like, yesterday or so. So now I have the DLC, but I would only want to do... I would only want to do the playthrough of... the DLC when I do a new playthrough of the base game with that funny build. So that's an idea for a thing that I am currently having. So, and also, I'm not sure if I'm making this happen on Monday or not, because next stream after today would of course be on Monday. But one thing I haven't done for a long time, one thing I haven't played on stream for a long time, is Lethal Company. And, like, the last I did, like, a stream of that, or anything like that, or at the very least with Lethal Company in particular, last time I streamed that, I believe, was actually January, which is actually very insane. And the closest thing to that was the last time I streamed Content Warning, which was back in April, I believe? So, yeah, been a long time since I did that kind of stuff on stream. So, possibly on Monday, that might be next stream, though I'm not too sure. I'd have to ask friends if they're like around for a Lethal Company stream at all. So, that of course is dependent on whether or not people are available. If not, then I'd have to consider doing something like completely different. Okay, still nothing. Why? The reason I changed the settings so that I didn't have to force compile every single time I like made a new class was to avoid this whole thing of like waiting for it to compile for like 20 minutes or so, 10-20 minutes or so every single time. Right. 4 actions started, but there's not. I'm just kind of losing my mind at the moment with this stuff. So while we're waiting, I may as well go back into Clip Studio and do some more sketchy sketch kind of stuff. So I've already explained this. I've already explained how this is all working in terms of wall sliding. So with Unreal Engine, so I'm talking in Unreal's context in particular because how it would work here is completely different from how it would have worked in Unity. And by that I mean in Unity, for like a wall sliding kind of thing, it normally would have just been a matter of like no wait, no, actually it may actually work out the same. But in Unity, so going back to like my roots in game dev in Unity, how wall sliding would have worked is that it would have reduced gravity. So we would have reduced the gravity scale, or continuously set the velocity. And Or at the very least, this is the stuff that I knew of. So either the gravity scale would be reduced. So say for example, much like my project, like normally the falling gravity would be free. When sliding on a wall, that would be reduced to, say, that would be reduced to, say, something like 0.7 or something along those lines. Probably 0.3. I'm not too sure what I would have done way back then, but it would do something like this. Now, in Unreal, no, yeah, and then there was also the matter of like setting the velocity itself. Though I can't remember if from the last project that I was working on in Unity where I actually had a wall slide implemented, if that's what I did. I could always dip into like my files and check like the C# files for it while this code is still compiling. Like I could probably easily do that. So GitHub. Apps, scripts. State, slip check. Right. UI test. Notepad. Yep, there we go. Oh, wait. Yeah, no, this is... Yeah, I'm looking in the wrong folder. Also, I find it odd. Like, this is an interesting thing for me to actually sort of go into. But in terms of, like, terminology for, say, wall... Like, for player controller and stuff, that would have been completely different in Unity. As... From my perspective, this is what I knew it as back when I was developing in Unity, but I knew the player controller itself as simply just, yeah, this is just the player. This is just the player, rather than, you know, this is a thing that handles the input for the player. But... I think this is the one. So we'll... Right, so whoa. So if there's... God, that was so... Oh wait, no, this is completely the wrong one too. Where the fuck was the actual... Oh god, Oh god, what did I do? Oh, yep, no, there was... Yep, I found it. Right. And is it still compiling? It is still going! Why? What is going on? Yep, wall jump, wall climb, wall bounce. Yep, now I remember. So... Okay, yeah, now I remember. So, back in the last project that I, like, handled, like, wall sliding and stuff in Unity, the approach I did was simply continuously setting the velocity. And how we would say is that there would be a... Hold on, this was odd. Sorry about that. So, wall slide... I'm going to label this. So, how I would have handled the wall slide in Unity back then was we'd have a variable on the player called wall slide velocity. Though I guess wall slide velocity doesn't make too much sense as a name. I guess wall slide speed would be a better one, but this was what I was using at the time. And what we would do is that we would say, hey, so the velocity, like, oh, it finished building when I'm explaining something again. Are you serious? But so we would take the velocity, we'll take the y component of the velocity, and we would set it to basically the inverse. And this is before actually setting like the player object's velocity, because this variable and the velocity of the rigid body, which is what they use in Unity, the rigid body velocity, you can't directly alter individual components of it. You can only alter the actual, like, the whole thing. So we would have like a separate local velocity that we would sort of set the y value for, and then we would set it to this. And then that would produce the effect of, oh, the player is sliding slowly down the wall. So this is how it would have been done in Unity. Now, in terms... Oops, sorry about that. In terms of Unreal, I am not sure how I would have this handled. And the reason why is that, while we can do this, like, do the same thing, we could just say, hey, velocity, like, we can take the velocity and set to continuous value while sliding down. So while a wall sliding value is true. There's also the matter of going for something along the lines of changing gravity scale, which is probably not ideal. Probably not ideal, because if you were jumping, you started wall sliding, quote unquote, and you reduce gravity scale to something close to 0, and you were still, like, in the midst of jumping, that would just make you jump even higher than you had intended to do in the first place. So, we'd avoid that. We would avoid that completely. we would avoid that completely. So we wouldn't change the grav scale because that would just make you jump even higher. We could set the velocity, or we could do something with like character movement modes. Though I feel like looking at the options for wall sliding, that it would just be the same as doing it in Unity. Though I do not know. I'm not entirely sure. So just I'll figure it out. We'll figure it out at some point. Right, so the project's back. Gonna let this play, and I'm hoping that this does better than it was, although there's always the possibility that it's still doing things wrong because I missed out something in the calculation for where the line trace should be fired. And I did it again. Right. And somehow this is even worse than the last time. I don't know how that happens. Right. So it keeps, quote-unquote, making changes to the character model that I have in the project, when really that's not the case at all. So that's weird. There is definitely something that I still missed. So, where is it? So we take the location, and then, or the location of the hit result. So F vector. So we'll call this trace direction, and I realized I did not switch over to rider. Whoops! So trace direction, and we'll say wall hit dot location plus reflection direction times 500. The F. Because that's what I was doing before. Oh wait, no, trace end direction. Trace end direction. Say... Oh wait, no, we'll probably say wall hit dot impact point. Impact point. And then we'll say trace end direction. Now this adds an extra step to the calculation, and I'm hoping that this doesn't take an eternity to compile, because there's no need. There is zero need for it to take so long. Always 4. Why is it? It's like it's... All I did was add one extra line of code, And that's literally just an expression. It's just a calculation. That's all I added. But, God damn it. Slow! It's so slow today! I don't know why. Why are you being so slow? But yeah, back to what I was talking about. I am not so sure. I am not so sure how to handle wall slides in Unreal yet. I could always look it up while we're waiting for this to compile. I can always look it up. So Unreal Engine wall slide. And this is an entirely separate video. And oops. Right, so from my understanding from this video, right, okay, so right, so okay, perfect. Right. So I've looked it up now. Well, this like one of the solutions I found is essentially what I described there. You would just accept instead of setting the velocity to a given speed, it's constantly trying to interpolate it to 0 every second or every frame. So you're just constantly trying to set it to just like, or try and bring it to 0 or close to 0, and it will just sort of keep it at a constant speed because of it. At the very least... Right, so I know I know what to do with wall sliding in Unreal. So if I wanted to, like, then I could just implement wall sliding. So, to illustrate what I mean by, oh, we're just constantly saying it, so if you've been here before, or you already know this, then this doesn't sound like alien to you, but if you don't know this, so what we would essentially be doing is we would be taking... what is essentially... So... Right, let me just do this as a simple diagram. So this is the player, of course, and as you may know already, in Unreal, when you make a player character, or just a character, like, object in general, it has a thing called the character movement component. And the character movement component handles, like, jumping, like, velocity, and a whole bunch of other stuff that are very important for, like, for the player's, like, movement and stuff, or just, like, AI movement and so on. Like, it basically handles movement and locomotion as a whole. So... but yeah, so as I was saying, the character movement, we're basically taking the player's current velocity, so get current, and we're essentially plugging that into a thing. At the very least in Blueprints, it's called vinterp to constant. So... which I am assuming would be a Ukismet math library function? Maybe? I'm not too sure. But I'll find that out soon enough as well. But vinterp to constant basically takes current, and then there is a target. So we would essentially take the current velocity, feed that in as the current value, and then for the sake of wall sliding, to make sure it's as smooth as possible, we would feed in a constant of 0, 0, 0 into the target, and then for across seconds, so you would feed it time seconds. And then you would also set the interp speed. So how quickly it will try to interp from the current, from the current velocity to 0. How quickly it will try to interp to that. And from the example I saw, 3000 was the speed that they used. And this will happen every second if you're just checking for a wall slide. So all of this basically happens if wall slide set. And that would be like a boolean. That would be b wall slide. So if this value, b wall slide, is true, then we would do this. Otherwise, we just don't do this and we just kind of go about things normally. And the way I would do it because I don't want to get rid of the diagram that I have at the moment yet. And again, it's taken over 10 minutes to compile the code. I'm very upset with this. God, why is it being so slow today? Feels like it really shouldn't. But that's basically... oh wait, no. Now I remember. I zoned out. Right. How I would basically have that work is I would have that be a function within, like, tick. Because if you can remember, tick in Unreal is the thing that happens, like, every second or every frame. So that would take in, like, float delta time, which is basically, like, the time between, like, each given frame within the game in seconds. So, in tick, whatever else that we would have, like, in terms of what we want to have happen in this function, we would also say check for wall slide. But there is a thing that I'm realizing here. At the moment, if I was to implement this system, like check for the wall slide, set the thing, yada yada yada, and like it would be a case of if the player was like jumping up and they were right next to a wall, like even if they were like on the ground, they would immediately be put into wall slide. Like, you wouldn't have them jump up and then slide down. They would just be immediately put into wall slide. Which is not smooth. It is not smooth at all. So, what I would want to have happen instead is something that I would say happen in basically... Or I would say happens in basically 3 steps. So, what would happen is, first, the player would just kind of be here. Of course, you know, being them little selves, as you do. So, and the reason why I'm, like, doing this is so I can show you the 3 steps of how this would happen if I was to tweak it and improve it. So, in like the base state, it would just force it into a wall slide immediately. What I would want to do is that, of course, I would want, and again, it happened again when I'm explaining something that's very important, and it's like, hey, I know you're explaining something, but I'm just gonna finish compiling. I hope you're okay with that. Like, no, I'm not okay with it. But yeah, so they would jump, and while they're like rising up and jumping, no check while going up. So basically, while the player would be like in the actual motion for jumping, like the actual sort of going up like phase of the jump, they would not be wall sliding at all. And that's basically how it would work in Mario Sunshine as well. Like, if the player was to jump right next to a wall in Mario Sunshine, they would first do, like, they would first go up, and then once they were going down, they would start wall sliding. So, whilst they're going up, there's no, like, there's either no checks for wall sliding, or there will be, like, it will check for the wall slide, but it won't actually do anything until, like, the player starts to fall. So, once, like... And then once, like, the player is, like, finished rising and they begin to fall, we say, wall slide starts, or start when descending. That is basically what would happen. So to break it down, first, like, if the player is right next to a wall, and they jump right next to that wall, we do not want them to wall slide while they're jumping up. So while they're jumping up, either no check is made, or the check is made, but nothing is acted upon while they're sort of jumping. And I could easily probably say, like, oh, if this is, like, happening, but the player is, like, not, like, currently rising up, then this won't happen. If they're not rising up, then they will slide down the wall instead. Then... Then, like, once they begin to properly fall, that ability to sort of wall slide after the check is made will basically be reinstated. They'll be able to do that again. So that's what I want to happen, but that's, like, if I actually do implement wall sliding, which, to be fair, the more and more I talk about it and go over how I would do it, it just sounds more likely that I will do it anyway, so I probably will do it. I'm saying we'll do it a lot. Can you tell that I will do it? But, yeah, that aside, project's all loaded up again. I am hoping that I can actually get the reflected thing this time. If not, then I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And of course, again, we wait for the project to speed up a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Right. Now we're actually getting somewhere with this. We're getting somewhere. That is what I was wanting to happen. Yep. Yeah, yeah, right, it's getting the angle. That's good. Right. And regardless of, like, how, like, wide the angle is, it will reflect it at basically the same angle. That's great. That is really good. Okay, so that's part A of that. I'm sorry that took a long time, especially with how long it was taking for code to compile. So, we got there. We got there in the end with that part. So now, what I want to do... So, instead of, like, because we've done this stuff here, we've done this stuff. Oh wait, I'm not in Rider. Whoops. But we're doing this stuff here, but this was solely for the reason of making sure that I can actually get this check done. Now, what I would want to do is I would essentially want to do this, but in the actual wall jump method. So let's get rid of this, because now we know that works. Or at the very least, checking whether or not it was going in the right direction. And we're going to go into, where is wall jump? Yeah, wall jump. So this is what we have here at the moment. And I'm not sure about this song from... This is from Xenoblade 2. The Nug Desert, Blade Barracks, the city... Alchemoth. I like Alchemoth from Xenoblade 1. But this is also kind of... Yggdrasil, Forto Verbus... Galahad Fortress. Galahad Fortress from Xenoblade Chronicles 1. I like that song too. There we go. But... What I want to do, I don't know if I've already moved it. No, I haven't moved it yet. So I want to take this, and I want to move it into the other method. Into the actual wall jump method. And I think I want to take... Oh, I don't know. So... It's forward wall force. Right. So... I'm gonna take... This whole section. I'm gonna comment this whole section out. But I'm still gonna say... F vector... Wall force... equals F vector. And for now, I'm just gonna initialize it as an empty F vector. So that this doesn't throw a fit. Right, so we have that. Right, so this is all important. So trace end direction. So we'll say... Wall force Right, so wall force direction equals wall force direction times forward wall force, and then wall force dot z equals upward wall force. Just so we have that in mind. And then we still need to do setting the rotation, because that was the one thing that was kind of frustrating me initially when I was setting up wall jumps. So I don't want to forget this again. So new rotation equals u kismet math library make rot from x, and we're going to say wall force dir, and then set actor rotation, and we're going to set it to new rotation. Right, basically the same as partly the same as it was doing before. Is this one of the sad songs? Yeah, this is one of the sad songs from Xenoblade 3. I ain't dealing with that right now because that's a sad song. Wall force direction. Right. So, with luck, this should work. And if it doesn't, that's the reason why I only commented this code out rather than removing it entirely. Because if this doesn't work, then I still have this original code to fall back on while I try and figure out a solution for it. Oy. Also, I'm going to quickly grab some ice for my drink because very thirsty. I will be back in a moment. Right, I'm back. I am currently trying to shove ice into my bowl. I don't think this is possible. I think I've made a horrible mistake. All I wanted was to grab some ice to throw into my bottle, rather than just trying to shove my bottle in the freezer and wait so long for it to freeze when it doesn't freeze that quickly. So... sucks, really. In a way, it's kind of a matter of waiting for it to freeze, but waiting for it to melt enough so I can drop it into the bottle. Though this is also kind of bad. Oh, why did I do this? This was so silly. I should have just gotten a cup. I should have just gotten a mug. This was a terrible idea. Just... the question is always... I always ask the question, why do I do things? And this is one of those cases where I am asking that question. Right, one of the other ice cubes has almost gone in. But I am just going to have to eat the other one, otherwise this is going to get on my nerves. This is going to get on my nerves. Oh, right. That was an experience that I do not want to repeat. So if the other ice can go into my bottle, that would be nice. Like, I can't show pictures of this, but at the moment, this one little ice cube is just kind of lodged in, like, the bloody neck of the bottle. But it's almost in. It just doesn't want to bloody budge. Bottles are not kind to me today. And all I wanted was to chill this bottle. Just so I had something cool to drink with how warm it's been and how thirsty I get quickly. Like, it's dreadful. It's dreadful. And anyway, I'm gonna switch over to Clip Studio again, because this is taking forever again. I think the common theme that's been frustrating me has been how long it's been taking for code to compile, and I want to be able to get on with more of it and show you all more. And I guess this is one reason why I wish I could stream for more time in a day. Because there's so much I want to be able to get through, but I can't because of how I currently have my schedule and, you know, how things pan out in my life at the moment. So I do want to sort of reevaluate, like, stream times, and everything, but Ugh. But I can already see this take a while. God. But with luck, now that I've figured this whole thing out, maybe... Oh wait, I'm realizing what dropped on the floor. That might have been my pen for my drawing tablet. Yeah, it was. Whoops! I was wondering where it was! Oh god! Dreadful. Right. But... that should be working. So... what would essentially happen is basically... Let me think. I would have to work it out. I would have to work it out in terms of the wall slide. But what I do want to be able to happen is still have, like, what I currently have for wall jumping. But... like, still have what I currently have for the wall slide or wall jump happen when they're not wall sliding. So when they press the button while they're just about to wall slide, they just jump right off. But then once they wall slide, it's just a matter of, you know, they just kind of, like, trigger the jump without having to perform a shape trace. That's what I want to have happen. But I'll figure that out a little bit later down the line, once this is proven to work. But it remains to be seen. Now, completely unrelated, because there have been things that I've been looking into again for a thing that I'm helping out with, and that's to do with 2D in Unreal Engine, because despite what people may or may not say, it is possible. It is possible to do 2D. It is possible to do HD 2D, as evident by games like... Oh, it's compiled! I was explaining things again! Like, but as evidenced by games like Octopath and the Dragon Quest remakes that are going to be released. Like, it is possible to do 2D and HD 2D, and also just pure 2D, because there is a content creator that I know, they're called Cobra Code, and they've done, like, tutorials on, like, HD 2D stuff in Unreal in the past, using the Paper ZD plugin, which is just... you know, it's a good plugin that makes managing, like, animations and stuff for 2D characters way better. But... sorry about that. Anyway. Oh yeah, right. Now I remember. I zoned out again. But I have been looking into, like, doing, like, 2D stuff again at some point, and, like, the process for, like, getting, like, for example, like, what you would normally like in a game, like, in 3D, of course, so, say we were just doing, like, you know, your average Joe in, like, 3D and whatnot. Let's just imagine this as, like, a dude that's currently in 3D. Sorry for the kind of haphazard drawing. This is just me trying to demonstrate a point. So, say this is 3D man. / woman. because interpretation. But say this is 3D man or woman, and of course, in a 3D world, you would normally expect to have like lighting, like affect like the scene and the objects within it. So say for example the lighting's coming from like this direction, you would have like the shading and whatnot be like that, and like the player kind of shaded like this too. And you can see what I mean. And if you were making a HD 2D game, you would kind of want the same thing to happen. But how do you get lighting to interact with sprites? Because on their own, sprites are just 2D images. Sprites are just 2D images. They don't have like multiple dimensions. They don't have like, by default for their materials, they don't have normal maps that basically indicate like how a surface is supposed to look, or how like lighting is supposed to affect different parts of the surface and so on. But it is possible to have a 2D character affected by lighting, and you essentially kind of do this in the same way by having a normal map, but instead of like making like textures and stuff a normal map, you would essentially take the sprite sheet for a character and you would essentially convert that to a normal map. And normally, like in a normal context, if you didn't have like a specialized tool for doing this, or like a script that basically automates this process, you would have to draw the normal maps over the sprite sheets by hand, and that's painful. Luckily, Sprite, which is the software that I use like for spriting, like making sprite work and stuff, there is like a script that someone made for it where you can just like take a sprite sheet and create a normal map, and then it will just automatically make the normal map for where the lighting should hit and affect a like a sprite character model. And that just works. Like, you import it in with like the right naming conventions, and it will just affect things automatically. And then you'll just have a sprite-based character, but they're impacted by the lighting within the world. And that's how you have stuff like happening in games like Octopath and eventually the Dragon Quest remakes. So that's basically how that stuff would work with like a HD 2D character. Okay, so now that I'm done explaining that, the project is back open now. So it always happens when I'm trying to explain something that I want to explain, because these are things that I'm learning, but right. So, what happened? Where am I? Why am I teleporting? I'm being genuinely serious. Huh? I am just being teleported for some reason. Okay, so something went wrong. Something went horribly wrong. Oh. Okay, this might be the reason. I forgot to remove this. Right, let's try this again without forgetting to remove the one thing that affects, like, the actual line trace calculations. And considering that this is like literally the most minute change! I don't know what's going on, why it's being so slow. I also realized that I never switched back to, Ryder. Whoops. But yeah, as I was saying, you could just make a normal map from a sprite, and then apply it, and then that just also applies lighting to a sprite, and that's pretty cool. And also, like, in, like, making a 2D sprite-based character, you could basically just have it do stuff that a 3D character could, though for some things that you may or may not want it to do, you may need to do a bit more of a workaround, depending on what it is you're trying to do. Like... Oh, I just realized that... And of course Twitch Mobile's breaking on my phone. Oop, 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 ow, 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 ow. Whoops. Right, so... To be fair, now I'm looking at the whole, it was doing stuff at, like, this angle and this speed and all that jazz. I can kind of see why... I don't remember what I set my initial, like, wall check distance. I think no, I didn't set it in here. I set it in the editor. That's what I did. I set it in the blueprint. That's how I did that. Though actually, one point I'm gonna so to the ledge climb, because one thing I never understood even when I was developing in Unity, was how to do ledge climbing.
Are you tired of...
I never understood how to do ledge climbing, and I feel like trying to understand how it works, even though I'm watching a Unity video, would help me try and understand how to do it in 2D in Unreal. And then I can try and translate that to 3D as well. Oop. So... Ouch. So from what I can tell... Right, so... in Unity, at the very least, from what I can tell, it would play the animation for the wall climb, or the ledge climb, or ledge, or pulling up onto the ledge, and then once the animation has finished playing, it would then change the player's position. Though that's one approach, not the absolute definitive one. So I'm going to see if there is another one. Oh, that was the one I already watched. And this is a 27-minute video that I just found. I just found a 27-minute video on how to do this. God, jeez, this is... oh, no. And another approach is... From what I can tell... Would this also play the animation and then change it, or... Like, I'm sorry if at the moment this is just, like, a lot of nothing is going on, and, like, while I'm waiting for the code to compile, I'm just looking things up. Trust me, I am looking stuff up, and I'm trying to figure out, like, for, like, any other future, like, 2D projects that I may or may not want to attempt, how this would bloody work. This feels like a lot to try and... Also, again, I'm gonna go on a whole little spiel again. I just don't understand what's going on with my PC at the moment. I don't know if it's the engine, or if it's my PC, or if it's literally any other factors beyond my control, but I'm really disliking how slow this is being. It's very upsetting, and I want to be able to get on with more, but I just... I'm definitely gonna have to try and look into getting things sorted here, because this is deeply upsetting. Let's see. Let me think. Yeah, no, at the moment my head is just completely empty. All it is now is just waiting for this code to compile. It was only one line of... It was literally the smallest change that I made. Literally removing the end of a calculation, and it's just... just don't understand what it's doing. Like what could it, why, I am struggling to explain what I am thinking or feeling, or try to understand. I'm trying to explain what I'm struggling to understand. Right. Nope. And I don't like this song either. Frosted Upon. Love the song. Oh, that's interesting. Right. So, I have been looking about on, on the interwebs, on the internet, as you do when you're waiting for code to compile. And apparently, so this is games industry news that has been happening. Apparently, Bethesda Game Studio workers have made the decision to unionize. And it's not just like QA as the QA union, because apparently there was also a quality assurance union. However, this one is wall to wall. It is 241 of their developers, ranging from artists, engineers, programmers, and designers, who have all decided to unionize. And apparently, they say that Microsoft has recognized a union. Though I'll believe that when I see it, because Microsoft has been making very questionable fucking decisions lately. It's you can tell it's a different industry when Microsoft is vilified so much. Same with Sony. And Nintendo, by comparison, with all their attitude towards like fan projects and such, can be seen as saints by comparison to the other major like corporations within the game dev industry. And it finally finished! Yay! Right. This is another vocal song from Xenoblade 2, the fucking... Whoops. Okay. Swapping back over to the engine. Once again. Now, hopefully, things should be a bit better this time, considering the fact that, and if not, then I am not sure what's going on, because my test basically concluded that this should work. Oh! It's teleporting me along again. Why? What's going on? Right. I'm not sure what's going on. Like, it's weird. It's so weird. Right. I think I'm going to look into this off stream, because if I was to try and make tweaks to the code again, I know it's going to take an eternity to do so. And I don't want to subject myself or anyone else watching to that again. So I'm going to call stream there. So thank you ever so much for showing up to the stream. I really appreciate you being here. Next stream will be Monday, and as I already said, I'm not too sure what I'll be doing yet. I mean, probably if I can get friends to do it. Like, if, if I can get friends to join in for that. Otherwise, then I will be probably doing something different, but we'll have to wait and see. But again, thank you ever so much. I really appreciate you all being here. And once again, I will see you all in